Hey everybody, Osherove here, and today we're gonna talk about what it's like to have your first session with the Loki builder slash prototyping agent in your AWS account. I clicked connect on my EC2 instance. Once I connected to it, if I'm not in the EC2 user, I have to set up that login to that user. So I'm going to do sudo su ec2 user because that's the default user here. And of course, it should be SU, not DU. Apologies. Okay. Now, next thing you're going to see is you're going to see basically the options for us. We just need to write loki-agent, or it's underneath. It's basically openclaw, so just an alias. I'm going to say loki-agent. That's terminal user interface, and that's going to log into the Loki gateway, which is a persistent session. And what you can see here is what's already happening previously in my previous sessions. And you can see there's been heartbeats and a bunch of stuff because this instance has been running for a while and it's pre-configured with heartbeats and health checks. So if I scroll up, you can see my previous question that I started in a previous session. What do you do? What do you know? Or like I just said hi and it said, oh, this is a fresh start. There's no memory files yet. I've got soul, identity, and tools files. It's asking me what it should call me, and what time zone I'm in, etc. And what do we want to work on? I'm going to answer it in a second, but I also asked it, what do you know? What do you do? It's an AI assistant on the EC2 instance via openclaw, and it can do all of these things. Infrastructure and DevOps. It's also a developer. So underneath, it's using Opus 4.6. And what you can see here, this heartbeat stuff. This is an event that happens every 30 minutes, and we can configure it using heartbeat.md, which is in our workspace. We don't have to change it directly. You can just ask it to change it of what happens. I'm going to show you how that works. But for now, you can see that in the heartbeat, it's actually checking like security stuff because it's connected to the Security Hub service in AWS. Port 22 is reachable from the Internet Gateway because I enabled it for SSH. So you know what? Let's just do something simple. I'm going to tell it, you know what? You might want to keep SSH open. I'm going to close it. Close SSH 22 port. Let's see what happens. Now, because this is not running inside like a Docker image, it's literally running inside an EC2 instance, it's going to be able to just set up or use the AWS CLI and the APIs, and it's looking at the security group. And it sees that the security group is already locked down to this instance. So the security hub finding is likely triggered because the SG is attached to an instance in a public subnet. So it flags the possibility even though it's localhost. So I can remove the SSH rule entirely. That's just going to tell it 1. And we don't need that. So that's just me configuring it. Okay, so do we have anything in this AWS account already set up? Any instances or anything like that? And what's going to do now, it's going to kind of look around. Actually, you can turn on verbose mode if you want to. So I'm going to do /verbose on, enter, and enter. And now what you can see here is actually the commands that have happened. And it's detecting there's a Loki VPC, there's the instance, and there's a couple of Lambda functions that these were set up as part of the installation process to set up Loki security enabling and all that stuff. But other than that, there's nothing really configured. This is a brand new account. Yeah, so that's basically it. And these are literally executions where it ran commands. Let's do, you know what, because this is a brand new instance, let's configure it with some good stuff. If you want to configure it some good stuff, you know how Neo in the Matrix was like learning Kung Fu? We can do the same thing. So if you go to loki-agent on GitHub and you see there's like essential and optional, if you click on essential, there's a bunch of bootstrap stuff here. So technically you can just take this URL and say, set up these bootstraps. For example, alarms. I want to bootstrap alarms like budget alarms. So let's just choose one. Okay, but then later we'll do all of them. I'm going to copy this and I'm going to go back into the systems manager or my SSM session. I'm going to say read this and bootstrap yourself. Now it's going to actually fetch. You'll see the command in a second. So it's fetching this file. It's reading it. and it's setting up an alarm stack. And what this is actually doing is it's actually setting up like CloudWatch alarms, and it's setting itself up to watch itself. That way, if there's any problems with the instance, it's going to set up like a CloudWatch alarm on my AWS account. And you can see it's setting up the topics and like SNS and a bunch of stuff. You don't really need to know a lot of this, but if you're an ops person, this is something that usually takes quite a bit of time. And here Loki is just setting up a bunch of stuff for itself. Like it's setting up background processes that watch the Loki openclaw process. So if the process dies, it will try to restart it. There's going to be like a whole dashboard in AWS CloudWatch that we can later take a look at. Okay, so now it's kind of trying to see that it can run these things, and it's installing a health check. And in a second, it's going to take a while, but it's kind of setting up. Now, technically, you don't need to do all that. We can just start building, but just showing you that usually you're going to end up with these settings. And for example, you might want to set up like a daily update or coding guidelines and all these things. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the entire essentials, and I'm going to say bootstrap all these essentials, and you can see it's still working in the background. Now, if I just press enter now, it's going to continue working. Every command that you put in, you can see it's like glaring like crazy because there's a bunch of stuff happening right now, all right? Because I turned on verbose mode. So it's kind of still working, and it's kind of testing the metrics and all these things. But if I just give it this command now, what's going to happen? Well, not much, because this command is going to get queued, and it's only going to look at my queued command after it finishes all of the other stuff. Now, if it runs things in the background, then it will actually listen to my commands. But if it's running things not in the background, but in the front end, it's going to listen to them only when it finishes the previous queue of commands that I give it. So if it's now like looking at the essentials, and I'm going to give it like 3 more commands, they're not going to do anything until it finishes the current command, which is kind of okay. And you can manage this queue, etc. So now it's reading all of these things, and it's bootstrapping itself. For example, like Docker root dir and all that stuff. I'm going to turn off verbose. So I'm turning verbose off. So you can see what it's writing now, and you don't see all of the noise. Okay, so it sees, oh, bootstrap alarms is already done, got all 10 files, and it has a clear picture, and it's starting with security, AWS config, like it's setting up all the security services. There's a bunch of stuff here. So what does it have? There's a daily update. It's going to start showing me. You learn how to do diagrams, make sure, and it's going to make sure that it knows about MC Porter, which is a specific tooling that's built into openclaw for managing MCPs. You'll learn about Playwright and bootstrap that because we use that. It's going to set itself up with rules so that any secret that I give it, like passwords, it's not going to save it in clear text. It's going to save it in AWS Secrets Manager. And a bunch of other security rules and a bunch of skills that are coming from Hero Powers. If I click on skills, you can see there's a bunch of AWS skills like serverless and observability, so it knows about how to work with AWS in a good way. Let's go back. Let's see where we're heading with this. And you can see it's setting up the secrets and setting up memory search and a bunch of other stuff. And at some point, the gateway, which is the process running here, will restart. The gateway is the thing, it's a daemon that actually runs on the computer, on the EC2 instance. That is the thing that is setting up, and when we connect to a session, we're actually connecting to the gateway. It's just a harness, and underneath it uses whatever LLM we configure. Okay, it's progressing. You can see now it's setting up cron jobs like nightly and this cleanup. It even says, oh, I don't know the time zone yet. So I can say my time zone is Jerusalem. Okay. No, okay, it's still setting up all that stuff. I'll set it for UTC for now, and you can adjust. Now let me write the first memory node, documenting everything. So now it's documenting everything that it did. Okay, so now it's finished the bootstrap, and you can see a nice status of everything that's bootstrapped. Playwright says no Chromium binary on this instance, needs npx playwright install Chromium. Okay, so it needs my input because if it wants to send me emails for notification, I need to give it some information. Now you see the Jerusalem stuff that I gave it. Now it actually processed that. So it's updated user MD. I'm going to take my name is Roy. I'm a solutions architect in AWS. Now It's going to set nightly disk cleanup for like 3 a.m. Let's let it also install Playwright. Okay. Finalize the Playwright stuff, and also the budget. Budget should be, I don't know, let's say $500 monthly, depending on what your budget is. Remember, this is meant for development purposes, like in a company usually where you build stuff, or if you're like a small startup. So 500 is very, very, very optimistic. You could easily end up with more because this stuff works on tokens. Like your entire existence is going to be token revolving around tokens. So be prepared for that. Okay, so now it's going to finalize Playwright. And then we're going to go and actually going to ask it to start developing something for us. Actually, you know what? Before we do that, there's one more thing I want to show you. In the optional stuff, there's a bunch of other optional bootstraps. My recommendation is to also, if you're going to do GitHub, you might set up like GitHub code actions and reviews and pipeline notification for your Telegram and like how to bootstrap Telegram. But let's say I do recommend bootstrapping the model config here. This is basically telling our model that the default model should be using Opus 4.6, but crons and heartbeats should be using Sonnet 4.6, which is much cheaper and is perfectly fine for these things, and also sub-agents. The main thinking brain should be the main session brain. That's Opus 4.6. Also bootstrap model config. I'm going to let go of the SNS stuff. I'm going to let it subscribers. I'm going to add that later. But for now, now it's you see if it's actually, you see right now it's actually heartbeat is happening while we're in the session. So the heartbeat is happening and it's reading it. Okay, now it's updating cron jobs to use the global Sonnet model and mark complete. Basically, in the config for the model, I set it up so, as you can see, heartbeats will use Sonnet 4.6. The default, the interactive one is Opus, and all cron jobs should be using 4.6 going forward. Okay. So this is the initial setup. In the next video, we're going to show what it's like to actually build a new app with Loki.